Are you struggling to get the results you're looking for when hollowing vases and vessels? I had a terrible time, especially when working on larger pieces. Today, we're going to explore the Robert Sorby Ultima Hollowing System to see how it helps solve many of our hollowing problems. Successful hollowing can really come down to the tools you're using, especially if you're working on larger projects like this big vase I've got here. There are a lot of different hollowing tools out there, but today we're going to focus on the Robert Sorby Ultima Hollowing System and compare it to some of the other tools that are out there and available. Now here's an example of a hollowing tool, and this works great on smaller projects. It's got a nice little hook. It is an insert cutter, and this tool does really well. The one downside of this tool is even here on the side you can see it's marked. There's a clear line here where we're not supposed to extend more of this tool head past our tool rest. So all of these different hollowing tools like this all have that kind of limitation. We can only go so deep with them, and it's about 4 or 5 inches. The same thing is true if we just use our traditional carbide cutters. These can work great for hollowing, and these are good tools for small boxes and other projects like that. But even this Easy Wood tools, you can see we've got a similar marking here on the side, and that just prevents us from over leveraging these tools. What options do we have available if we're wanting to work on some of these larger projects? Now, I've been using the Robert Sorby Turnmaster system for several years, and one of the things I do like about it is I can use this full bar. I can use the length of this full bar, so I can hollow much deeper than I can with any of these other tools that I've got out here. The other nice thing about the Sovereign or the Turnmaster system is this head up here comes off really easily, and I have different cutter heads, different shapes of cutters that I can use and insert in here, so I can reach over and do some hollowing with this tool very effectively. I still can't go nearly as deep as I can with the Ultima Hollowing System, but this tool does work pretty well. And it does work better than a traditional carbide tool for hollowing. Another option is a dedicated hollowing system. Trent Bosch Tools produces one. Lyle Jamieson produces one as well. I don't have any experience using those personally, but you can see those are really great hollowing options, especially if you're doing a lot of hollowing. It may be worth looking into those. My favorite thing about the Ultima Hollowing System is its flexibility and approachability. So first off, it gives me that length. If I need to hollow deep into a vessel, I can extend this out and reach 16 inches. So I have it in almost full extension here, and you can see between the bar out here, here's the cutter tip, and I've got a 22-inch handle here. This is a very large tool. And talking about flexibility, all we have to do is loosen these 2 set screws here on the handle, and we can run this in if we're working on a project that doesn't require all of that depth. We can shorten it up and make it easier to handle and control. We also have this articulating head, so you can use this. You can curve it more into the side of your bowl or less, really to your liking. So you can kind of tweak and adjust this head, which is another thing that I really like about the tool. So let's take a look at this cutter head, which allows us to slice our wood fibers when we're hollowing instead of just scraping. As you can see, the cutter itself is kind of a cone shape, and since it comes out, 2 things. Obviously it's replaceable, but we can also sharpen the cutter head just to extend its life, which is a really nice feature. Okay, so we've got the cutter head reinserted into the back end of the tool. There is also a guard. That's this part here. It's kind of wiggling here. This allows us to adjust the depth of cut so that we're not trying to take off too much material all at one time. So we can set this so that as we're cutting, we're not taking too much at one time. And all you do is you move. There's a nut down here at the bottom, and that helps us adjust our depth of cut. So we can adjust this to be more aggressive or less aggressive. And then we just tighten down the screw here on the top. once we have it in place, and then it's locked in place and we're good to go. But that's another adjustment we can make, which just helps us control the tool when we're turning. The Ultima Hollowing System uses the Robert Sorby sovereign handles. I've been using these for years with the Turnmaster, and a lot of times I like to buy the unhandled tools, which just make it easy to switch out tools. It's a little less expensive buying the traditional tools in an unhandled version. So the whole system creates a lot of flexibility. But let's check out the most important part, which is how this works. So let's get over to the lathe and do a little bit of hollowing on an open mouth vase so you can see how the hollowing system works. We're here at the lathe with a open mouth vase kind of mounted here on a faceplate. We've got our Ultima Hollowing tool here ready to go. So let's go ahead and work on this vase a little bit so you can see how this cuts. We've got our regular tool rest here on the lathe. We've got our tool ready to go. We're going to run at about 600, 700 RPMs. So all we're looking to do is take where we've already bored most of the interior out of our vase and just kind of work down the wall thickness on this vase. Now hopefully you can see there in the camera, I'm trying to work out here towards this edge. But you can hopefully see the shavings that are coming off the tool. So the shavings you can see here are these larger curls, which is that cutter head slicing the fibers more so than just scraping. So it does make for pretty efficient cuts. Once we get into kind of a rhythm and a groove, it is really easy to use this tool to bring down this wall thickness pretty rapidly. The nice thing is here, we've got a relatively large vase here, and we can get all the way into the bottom with no problem at all. So let's keep working on this side just a little bit. You can feel the tool engage, and once you feel it, all you've got to do is kind of work your way out. So the only real thing that we have to worry about when we have the tool in here is just kind of keeping some pressure. We do have a round bar, and so it does want to rotate, so you just have to kind of work that rotation or hold on to the tool and support that. Now the Sorby Sovereign tool does have a screw here where we could put in a handle. That would help us that can help us hold on to that rotational force. You could also just put a bolt. You could just thread a bolt in there. You don't have to buy the handle. A long bolt would work for a handle as well. Let me show you something that's optional here on the Ultima Hollowing System, but I do like it as well. So if we combine our Ultima Hollower with the Steady Pro from Robert Sorby, it really gives us somewhat like a captive system. This allows us to use this. We get our tool in here. This back roller kind of takes most of the pressure off. You don't have to have your arm or your elbow back here on the back of that tool. You're not fighting the pressure this direction when you're hollowing. So now all we have to do is worry about that rotation. We can easily just kind of roll in and roll in and roll out, and it makes hollowing a much faster, easier, less taxing task. Earlier I talked a little bit about the flexibility of the Sovereign system and the Ultima, but the Steady Pro adds to that flexibility as well. Because it's not a completely captive system, we can use our other tools, our other hollowing tools. We can adjust this for other tools as well. So this combination gives you a ton of value for the investment in these tools. All right, so let's do a little work here with this combination. I'll leave links in the description if you want to learn more about the Robert Sorby Ultima Hollowing System. Make sure you shop around if you're considering buying the system. In the past, I've seen big fluctuations in price and availability, so I'm leaving you with more than one option. If you're just getting into hollowing and vases, here is a video that walks you through the entire process of a simple vase, and I'll see you there.